Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Unlocked podcast. This week, we're shaking things up. Yeah, a little bit different this week. And this week, I'm going to share with you an episode where I was a guest on another podcast. And I want to share it with you because it's very relevant and very fit into what this podcast is all about. But this time, it's where I have been interviewed. It's a really cracking episode. Lots of gold pieces in there that can help us to unlock the best version of ourselves. But it's with my good friends, Alan and Emily from the Digital Circus, or in fact, the Digital Circus Life podcast. It's a great episode, so I'm going to share this week. And I'd also highly recommend you to check out their podcast as well. Some fantastic episodes. And also, whether you are a business or a hobbyist and wanting to launch your own business, check out the Digital Circus and Yellow Tuxedo brand because they are all about digital visibility. So if you're wanting to get your business out there and be seen online, check them out. They are fantastic. So I'm going to go have a haircut because my hair's getting quite long. And I'll leave you with the wonderful Digital Circus Life. Enjoy. My life was very much a case of, and no offense to my mum and dad at all, you know, it was very much a case of a small village mindset of, you know, you'll go to school, Ricky, you know, not, they didn't say you won't achieve much, but university wasn't on the cards, you know, because the money wasn't there. It would be like, Ricky, you might go to school, you've got to get a job, Ricky, you've got to get some money. And I could see my life being played out in that way of, it'll be very small in a sense, you know, comfortable, you know, and I was always why, you know, I don't like that.
When we first met Ricky Lock on Instagram, we knew he was someone we wanted to be involved with. This was about 3 or 4 years ago now. And ever since that, we've done quite a lot of projects together. So it was fascinating today when chatting to him to hear things we'd never heard before. The desire to be on stage, to perform, to entertain people started at a very, very young age when no one else in his family was a performer or doing anything like that. And how he wants to fail. He's happy to fail. For him, it's just a learning process. And for someone who truly believes that, it was fascinating to kind of hear that perspective. If you've never met Ricky before and you don't know who he is, then his links are in the description below. And if you're new here and you're watching this for the first time, please do subscribe to our channel. It means so much to us as a small business as we grow and we're trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve. Thank you so much for watching. Please allow me to introduce you to Ricky Lock. Right, Ricky, you know I'm one of your biggest fans. We've known you since pretty much the beginning of the Yellow Tuxedo adventure. So it's a real privilege to get to talk to you today on the Digital Circus Life podcast. But we have to start at the beginning. And the beginning for everyone is we're trying to understand what you're trying to achieve, whether it be for your personal life or your business, you know, or the blend of both of them together, life. What are you trying to achieve?
At this point.
At this point.
At this point. It's a fantastic question. Amazing question. So, what am I trying to achieve? Well, I guess there's a plethora. There we go. Nice word there. Plethora of different things.
Yeah.
Loads of different things to achieve. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, it's probably niching it down into something that's wholesome, that's fulfilling, that creates wonder. The biggest thing I think every day is that, and we've mentioned this before about this question, is this action going to produce the outcome I'm looking for? So everything I do, I have to ask myself that question. But I just have this massive, a bit like a glass thing, the glass, is it filling my cup? I think that's everything I'm trying to achieve. So whatever it is that I do, whether it's, interactions in life, whether it's personal life, business, magic, Confident Club, is it filling my cup? And if it isn't, then it's not part of that achievement in life, really. So I think that there's a lot of things that I could kind of digress and go on further. But the main thing really, I think, is to achieve just this fulfilling life of amazement and wonder. And, I think one of my things I'm very conscious of is that I am, I'm in my early 30s. And
so old.
I'm so old, yeah. I'm very impatient because I'm a millennial. I grew up with the world of, internet and everything. So I'm very impatient that I want things fast now, that kind of thing, because I don't know where life will be. So I do try to, make everything intentional, the old 4,000 weeks, of an average human life. So everything I try to do, I guess, to achieve, you answer your question, would be a fulfilling life. Yeah.
So would you say your cup is a pint glass or a shot glass? I think we know the answer already, but...
I'd like to say it'd be like a porn star martini glass. That'd be quite fun. Exotic.
That is way cooler, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't take too much to fill it up. There we go. No. You know what? What was it? I read this. So obviously with my daughter, I read this. Is it The Fox, the Mole by Charlie Mackesy?
Oh, the Boy and the Horse.
It
Yeah.
did win an Oscar as
Boy and the
well,
Horse.
the video version.
That's right. Yeah, and I think one of the questions I think the horse says to the little boy, "Is your glass half full or half empty?" And the boy says, "I think I'm just grateful to have a glass." I think it's great, isn't it? You know, like I think. I can't remember the answer, the question now, but what was your question, Emily? There we go. I was getting off sidetracked.
It was how big was your cup?
I was going to say, who cares what the
Yeah.
question is? Just tell us what you want to tell us, Ricky. We're enjoying listening.
Do you know what? I think the cup never ends, and I think that's because my interest in life. I think it's a polymath is the word. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you can edit that in if not. But I think a polymath is somebody that is just interested in everything.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with the whys and the hows of everything. So I think when I look back in my life and everything I've ever done with magic, with playing instruments, with doing things and just learning stuff, I'm on this massive journey about learning. I love learning, I love growing. So I'm always interested in things. You know, curiosity I think is a massive value to me. So I think this cup is just growing all the time as I get older. Who knows, maybe it will get to the point where I turn 60, 70, and then, you know, like old people just put the sign on the door saying, "Do not disturb, do not talk to me." And maybe that'll be it. You know?
That's my question. In the pursuit of filling up your cup, which from the kind of high level feels very good, fulfilling, purpose, direction and everything else. But also that means you're taking action all the time. That means you're trying to find things to fill your cup. And that means actually who's designed, you know, you have said it's a porn star martini glass.
Basically a bottomless bruncher,
Yeah, well,
aren't
that's
you?
what I'm thinking. This is bottomless, Ricky. So how do you know when you've achieved it? So one of the things about goals we all know is you need to be able to benchmark it. You need to be able to know when you achieved it. So when does that stop? I mean, you've just talked about being old and shutting the door. So are you ever going to have achieved it?
Yeah, so this goes back to, I remember like back in my corporate days before I went, you know, full-time in the business, we did this like define your purpose day, you know, which I think is incredible. You know, it's a really good thing. And one of the key things like they get you to do is like a timeline of like key moments in your life that you remember. And one of the moments that I think very similar to you, this will be, Alan, is that some of the key moments in my life was always in front of an audience. So as a very young person, I play music, you know, I'd play guitar in my room, I'd learn. And weirdly enough, when like, if like someone knocked on the door, like an electrician or someone like to come in, I remember I'd like crank up the volume a little bit louder, you know, a little bit louder to play. And it wasn't as a narcissistic thing to like show off. It was kind of like, oh my God, you know, like, you know, I'm in front of an audience, that kind of thing. I want to show how amazing like things we can do, you know, like playing guitar and stuff. Funnily enough, that electrician came around quite a lot actually. Interesting. But anyway, long story short, yeah. But another one was like, you know, I remember winning the talent show when I was about 15, 16. And I loved that adrenaline being in front of an audience. And I remember when I was in my corporate days being a coach and a trainer, national trainer for Argos, and being in front of an audience. Magic, I'm in front of an audience. The Confident Club, we present people. And I remember distinctly, you've just made me think about it, laying on my bed when I was younger, I had a magazine called Total Guitar. And there was
he said Total Guitar and not something else.
That's right, yes. Total Guitar, there was this big spread right in the middle and you could pull it out. And it was a black and white photo. Now, in hindsight, I'm guessing now, I don't know who it was at the time, but I'm thinking it was probably Kurt Cobain, like from Nirvana. And it just looked like the back of him standing on stage, probably in front of Reading Festival, and just seeing this audience. It was black and white photo. I used to have it on the roof of my bedroom. So when I was laying down, I could look at it. And from an early age, I think there's always been that sort of a kind of legacy, I think, that what I want to do is to, not narcissistically, but to make a difference to people. So whether that is a magic trick creates wonder, whether it's like the Confident Club, we're, you know, reshaping and redefining people's beliefs so they not only can be confident presenters, but they can go achieve anything they want in their life. There's been something like that that's threaded through the answer to the question of what it is I'm trying to achieve. It's being on a stage, but making a difference. So whether that is, you know, a video, a podcast, that's the thread that just kind of fits through it all, which if you look at everything I do, it's always in front of an audience. So yeah, that's probably what it is, I think. Yeah,
I get that. And I also, sorry, just because the question was how you're going to know when you've got there.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's okay sometimes to perhaps not know that answer, because that may, you know, as you quite rightly said in the earlier part, is like you might just wake up one day and go, Yeah, I'm done. I'm happy. I'm fine. Not I'm happy.
Yeah.
You can't say that. I'm done is probably a better word, or I'm there, or something like that. So I get that. There's 1,000 thoughts off the back of that, by the way.
Yeah, there's a massive presupposition which we know, like in NLP, and I've had this through my life before I understood what NLP was, and it was there's no failure, only feedback, or you could say there's no such thing as failure, there's only outcomes. And am I allowed to swear on this or not? Or do we have to bleep this one out? Okay, cool.
A mild swear word, perhaps?
I'll say, and you can cut it out if you like after. So remember,
we're not doing any C-bombs, are we?
No C-bombs.
Like
Okay,
yeah.
All right, fine. I might bleep it.
So the word fear, right? Yeah, fantasize exaggerations appearing real, was what Steve told me from the Confident Club. It's a great story. Fuck everything and run. That's the great phrase which I love. So you might have to cut that out. But I don't really believe in fear. Yeah, there's things that might frighten me, but I'm just not afraid to go do things badly because I know I learn. So, I'm quite happy that it's not a failure. It's just an outcome. So I've kind of removed failure from my language. My mum and dad have always said to me, we've got no idea, Ricky, why you're a performer, because there's no performance bone in our bodies, right? So, you're like the odd one out. So maybe it was the electrician. Who knows, right?
Maybe.
But, one of the key things, though, is just kind of, I just want to go out there and I'm not afraid to fail. Whereas I think a lot of people are like, I don't want to do this. I'd love to achieve these wonderful things in life, but they're just not prepared to put in the time to go do something and fail. So if I remove failure from my language, then it's just an outcome. So, so that's the kind of key thing really of, I probably don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm not afraid to make a mistake or do something because it's just an outcome and I can learn from it and then try it differently. So, yeah.
What I've always appreciated about you, Ricky, is that you mentioned about that you're always learning and you're always trying to fill your cup, is the fact that in the 4 years nearly that we've known you, I've watched that journey of you going on and learning a new course or reading that book. And so many people can say, I read a self-help book or I saw this, and they can drop a quote here and there. But you actually implement, don't you? You're very much about learning and then implementation to see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, it's fine. But you do give it a really good go, don't you?
Yeah, totally. I think I will get to a point one day where someone said to me, Ricky, you should be a business coach. I thought, nah. But I think it's like I want to kind of be, like a leader would go out and do it. Like I will go out there and do it first so I can understand if it works. And then I'll show you that it does work and you can come follow me. Whereas I think a lot of people just are not prepared to step out and try it, whereas I'm quite happy to go try it and then say, hey, it works, so now go do this. So here's something I've done, it works.
It's an incredible character trait.
It's semantics ultimately, but I feel that's more the mentor side than coaching side. It's like, isn't mentor like I've done it and I'm showing you how to, and coaching is, something I get that.
But it really is a good character trait because so many people, especially in the world of entrepreneurship as well, are either standing still or they're not growing any further, and they want that growth. They want to, but they're not prepared to put that extra level of growth into that plan to get any further. And it's whether it's fear or the lack of time, lack of sleep, all those things that we all talk about all the time. But you do. And let's face it, you're recently married, you've got a small child at home. You still find that time in your day to do that reading, to do that learning, to do that conversation, to have conversations like these right now to bring that growth into your life. That's amazing.
I think, one of my favourite sort of quotes I know and use is, to be different, you've got to, if you're trying to achieve something you've never achieved before, you may have to do something you've never done before. And you kind of find that a lot of people aren't quite prepared to do that. And it's like, have you ever run a business before? No. Okay, so you're trying to achieve something you've never achieved before, the growth of a business. So what are you doing differently? And or they do, but they'll only take it so far before their own limiting beliefs, whatever, insert reason why here, kick in. But, you're very much about, actually, I may have or I don't have a limiting belief is what we're learning, because I've decided to remove that and I'm going to turn it in. And that is fascinating, isn't it?
So two things on that one then. So the first thing, so a great quote, which, I think I live by, and I mentioned this in my...
No one does quotes like Ricky, fact.
I mentioned this in my speech at my wedding, but the second thing is about the beliefs. I think I've got to this point in my time, not too deep now, Dara CEO stuff, but my life was very much a case of, and no offense to my mum and dad at all, it was very much a case of a small village mindset of, you'll go to school, Ricky, not, they didn't say you won't achieve much, but university wasn't on the cards, because the money wasn't there. It would be like, Ricky, you might go to school, you've got to get a job, Ricky, you've got to get some money. And I could see my life being played out in that way of it'll be very small in a sense, comfortable, and I was always why, I don't like that, one of my managers once said to me back in my corporate days was like, if you ever want Ricky to do something, tell him he's not very good at it, and then he'll smash it. Because I have like this attitude of like, well, if you tell me I'm not going to do it, I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove to you I can do it. So my whole life was like that. So when I then started doing magic and started creating a business, I realised the possibilities were literally endless without being too wanky. Sorry, another swear word there, a bit woo-woo, because I believe in some of it, but some of it I think there's the action that needs to happen. But I believe that there is literally anything, I'd much rather be credible and go try everything. And if it doesn't work, then I'll say, yeah, it didn't work. And now I'm at this point where understanding through Confidence Club and stuff that I'm just trying to rewrite a lot of my beliefs I had. So I used to believe that, I'd have bad luck traveling abroad. I used to believe in lots of different limiting beliefs. But now I'm at the age where I think, well, actually, why don't I just go find out if that's true or not? And then actually, most of it's not. It's just my thoughts are affecting that. The second thing then is the quote. So that's obviously my life. I'm now just going out there and just trying to prove my beliefs were they true. So if it's the case, like we mentioned earlier on, would I be a world-class speaker or a famous person one day? Could be a belief that it might not be true, but it could work. It could well work, right? So I'm going to go find out if that's true. But the quote is Marianne Williamson one. I love this. I can't remember it all. I think there's a religious bit in it, and I'm an atheist, but I love this piece in it, and it says like, one of our greatest fears is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And then she goes on to say, who are you to be brave, powerful, beautiful, gorgeous? Who are you not to be? And then it's this key line is, your playing small does not serve the world. And I think that's just a lovely thread for me, like going, well, if I'm going to go do something, let's just go bloody big and let's do it, So, yeah, that's the big quote for me. Yeah,
it's so true. I've got. Oh yeah, so now I was thinking about this, and this is not kind of the profound return I feel is your kind of story anecdote there is worthy of. But I had a girlfriend once years ago. Sorry,
What?
Emily, block your ears. Emily.
What?
and she always said, and I think I was in my early 20s, and she always said, like, whenever I go anywhere, I just assume it's going to go wrong. And I go, well, that's really funny, because whenever I go anywhere or do anything, I assume it's going to be fabulous, because it's basically that's how I'm built. And she said, yeah, but if it goes wrong and I think it's going to go wrong, then I can't be disappointed or upset. And I was like, I don't disagree with your logic. Your logic is absolutely sound. But I'd much rather go in believing something is fabulous and can be fabulous and will be fabulous because, because of the positive.
That's always been our attitude to parenting as well, with the kids as well, is never telling them they can't do something. Even in the playground, I remember from a very young age with Joseph, our youngest, who's now 5, he must have been nearly 2. He was he was toddling around, but all of a sudden he was at the top of a climbing frame about to do a fireman's pole, and we all went, the panic, and all of a sudden none of us actually ran towards the fireman's pole. We just stood there, which was either like
I just didn't notice and turned around and he's flying
and then
down.
all of a sudden this most pole dancer moment is perfectly flung around, spun around a few times, ta-da! And we're like, oh, he can do it, And at that point we realised we don't need to kind of like protect them from the worst that could happen, because the worst that could happen was a broken arm, right?
I do find that, but also I think so I'm trying to word this really politely. There are certainly adults whose definition of the worst that can happen is ridiculously worse than actually will happen. Like I saw a kid, I'm glossing over who it is. I saw a kid basically stood on a step, right? And the adult nearby was like, get down off of that, you might break your leg. And I'm like, or they might just graze their arm a little bit, as they hit the deck. And chances of grazing arm, very slim. Chances of breaking leg, like, no, not going to happen at all. But that kind of, once again, coming down to your interpretation and mindset.
Then you apply that back to business world, where obviously on this podcast is...
Or
life, general life. Actually, what is the worst that can really happen? And by not taking action, actually trying something a little bit out of your comfort zone that could be a bit scary, and absolutely, you could lead to massively great things. We all like to stay protected in our little bubble sometimes, and that's kind of sad.
So Ricky, I feel like we need to bring this kind of back to the original questions. I think we're getting a fab insight to you and everything else. And I get it, right? I absolutely get you want to try, you want to put it out there, you're going to do it, you want to see if you can be famous for kind of insert something here. But how do you know when you've done it?
It's that whole measure, isn't it? Again, of the measure of success. And, you know, most people, it's a financial thing. Most people, it's that fulfilling thing. I don't think I will ever have an answer, because I think I'll move on to then the next thing. I don't, you know, I'm a shiny magpie syndrome thing, but I will always continue to just keep pushing and growing and growing. Who knows? I might get to a point when I'm, you know, 60, 70, and then I go, cool, well, you know, I've mastered the life secret, whatever it is, you know, I found out what it is. But I think I'm just on this ongoing journey just to understand, well, what is the key to an awesome life, and, you know, that fulfillment of whatever it is. I just don't believe in, like, that life has to be really difficult, and life can be really fun, and it can be, you know, just very shortly going back to what you were saying with, like, Joseph and that, you know, with Alma, even strongly makes that purpose even more now, because as she grows up, I want her to have a wonderful life and fulfilling and that kind of thing. And I think that the answer to the question really is, I think I'll never know. But what I have to be very careful about is my language that I use, you know, because we know the unconscious brain is always listening. So I have to be very, very careful. Too many people in life, and obviously in business, and what we know is that they do this. So, Al, Emily, you would not let someone run into your house right now and start painting all of your walls bright red, unless you really like red, would you?
I do quite like red.
The answer is no, yes. But even I was sat here going, well, if they did a good job, I'd probably be okay. No, but we get the point.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it, right? So, but we in life do that in our mind, where we let people interrupt by giving us bad thoughts or saying stuff. So, but we wouldn't let them do that in our own house. So why would we do that in life, right? So for me, the answer is that there isn't one, I don't think. I think it'll just be something next, or, you know, what was it? You know, shoot for the moon, land on the stars, whatever. I think just keep going and going and going.
And there is a, you know, going back to what you were saying, if everything you do is bringing you fulfillment, then it can't be wrong. You know, you're unlikely to wake up one day and go, oh, that was all a waste, because the next thought, well, A, you don't believe in kind of failure, and B, the second part of that is, well, all of it brought me fulfillment at that point in my life. So it can't actually be wrong, you know.
Bringing it back to a practical level then, Ricky. So you've got these aspirations, you know you want to be bigger than you are right now. You're always learning, you're always growing. You're with the Confidence Club now. And we've known you for the last few years, and we know that there's been several pathways that you have taken to get to where you are right now. Obviously, you've got the magic side of you, you've got the confidence stuff, you've got the public speaking stuff, you've had the podcast, you've had the background in sales as well. How do you practically allow yourself that growth while still paying your bills? So I suppose really it's like, you're married with a child, like I've said earlier, but it must be exhausting, right? Because you've got to still be bringing the income in month by month, but you have that aspiration to do something different in the future. How do you balance that?
Yeah, well, my brain never switches off, which I think is a double-edged sword sometimes. Like, to be present in this day and age is just incredibly difficult anyway, because of social media, responsibilities. So I'm always trying to be more present whenever I can. It is a very difficult thing to do, and I think that it's just not losing sight of what that end goal is. Although I don't really, I can see something, you know, there's like, it's a bit like driving, isn't it? You know, when you're driving at night time, you can't see past 100 feet in front of you. But as you just keep going, oh, more of the road appears, oh, there's a lamppost, oh, there's a sign. That's all I'm doing. I'm just driving it ahead and ahead. So to answer the question, it's like, it's just never losing sight of what's in front of you, of where you're wanting to go. Now, I can't quite see exactly where it is, but I feel like I'm in the car and it's going in that right direction. So as long as I stay on track of that, because that fulfills me, you know. So like this morning when I woke up, like, oh, great, you know, I've got, I did the old ice bath, Wim Hof, and I was like, yeah, great, feel great. And I was like, well, I've got an hour now. I might just spend that first half hour or 90 minutes, whatever, just thinking, oh, let's think about what is the one thing that I can do to grow my business, or what is the one thing I can do to get more speaking gigs, or whatever it might be. And then still focus on, well, the rest of the day will then be running the business. So the cogs will then turn. But I think there's, I spend about 90 minutes twice, 3 times a week of working on the one thing, effectively. So whatever it is that week. So what if it is to, turn over an extra 10 grand or whatever it might be. Let's just make a random number, whatever it might be. So I always spend time making in the morning and then managing in the afternoon. As you know, with my role, it can be very frustrating because I provide a service. So if I'm at a wedding and hosting, that's my whole day gone. So I have to really prioritize my time of like, well, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to look at my emails because then that will dictate the rest of my day. I will just spend 90 minutes thinking of, cool, what's the one thing I can do today to help grow more visitors to my website? Or what's the one thing I can do to do this? Then after that's done, then I'll do all the emails and all that sort of thing. So you make in the morning and then you're a manager in the afternoon. That's loosely based off, obviously, The One Thing by Gary Keller. So that I don't think that really answers the question, but it's just continuing to focus on what is driving me forward while still in the background, still creating an operation and running a business, and creating that rhythm.
I think that's okay. I mean, I think everything says you have to have a defined goal, right? But your goal today might be revenue based, right? For argument's sake. We always talk about when you drive off your drive, you have to know where you're driving to.
Yeah.
And we always say Scotland as an example. It doesn't matter how you go to Scotland to get there, whether you take the motorways or the back roads, and you can change the route. You can decide to go to Wales or something instead. But with yours, it's kind of like, okay, I kind of know what it's not a kind, I know what I want my life to be like is probably a better way. That is my goal. So as long as I'm vaguely driving north, that's okay if you're going to head into Scotland being your life. The other one I had was... which was, there's a lady, I don't know if you know her, we know her on Instagram, Imogen Partridge, right? From the wedding. I think she's in wedding. Yeah. We chat every now. We got chatting about parkrun, and now we kind of chat every now and then.
Parkrun friends.
And we were talking about, very much in business, it's about intention. Like, so I'm going to do the very definite, I'm going to do this is my plan, this is my strategy. And we were discussing that sometimes something just feels right and happens, so Emily and I have probably discussed 1 billion business ideas, from property development to all the way down to selling sunglasses. Was one of my things I wanted to sell once.
Yellow ones.
And realistically, the things that just happen are usually right, and the things that don't happen, like the sunglasses and the property development, haven't happened for a reason, whether they don't meet us, aren't helping us towards our own personal goals, etc., etc. So I'm on board with what you're saying is my long-winded answer.
The property one's a great example of that, isn't it? Because we know, had we 10 years ago, 15 years ago, bought 5 one-bed flats, we would be probably financially free right now and having a great old lifestyle.
Sorry, what's the problem with that one then? What is the problem with that one?
It would have given us the financial freedom to, but it would have been boring as anything. It's not what drives us, and a lot of the stuff I think both of us can appreciate is we don't just do it for the money, we do it for the fun and the enjoyment and filling our cup.
And other people.
Other people. And a life of doing property would have been great, but ultimately wouldn't have allowed us to meet people like yourself and have these conversations.
We have the legacy thing like Ricky does as well, don't we? And, building a small property empire to be financially free would have had a fantastic life and potentially achieve legacy in a different way. But we can see some kind of legacy with Yellow Tuxedo. Yeah.
Well, there's 3 things make me think there. So the quote, I love it. We've mentioned this before in Magic Hour. The Maya Angelou, I live my life by this. People won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So if I fit to that, work to that, then that will make me have a great life. Because if I can make people feel something, that's amazing, right? The second thing is what you just said there, Emily, is absolutely right. Is living a life that is not conflicting of value. So if a work inquiry comes in, so this is what happened in 2020. I didn't live a life based on my values because I needed money, I needed to pay my bills because, like you said, right. Now I'm in a more opportunity now where the business is better because we're not in a global pandemic, just in case that comes back. But I live a life on value. So if something comes in, an inquiry came in for like a hen do, and nothing against hen do's, but it's like, that's not going to be really fun for me. It might be fun, but I just don't think I want to do that. So I didn't want to do it. I passed it on.
I'll go.
Yeah, you'll go, Alan.
Yeah,
but
that's fun for me.
It's fun for you. But as an example, it'd be like, when I get a lot of inquiries for like evening receptions where people are pissed out their minds, it's not an environment I want to be in. So I don't want to do it. So, it's a worst case scenario, whatever. But basically it's living the life of values, right? So if it's fun, does it fit around fun, fulfillment, freedom, family? If it doesn't touch one of them, then I don't want to do it. If it sounds exciting, like what we mentioned with the celebrity wedding earlier on this year, it was a low paid gig, but I thought it'd be quite fun. It'd fit around it and it fit around my family, so I did it. Can't remember the third one. Excitement. There we go. We were talking about something, but I think it was just a case of, it's about not contradicting on your values. That's the most important thing, isn't it? And why do we bother doing it? And it's like people stuck in a 9-to-5 job who just absolutely hate it. If it doesn't fit with your values, why are you doing it? But then obviously then people can't process that to think, well, I can do something about it. So it's taking some responsibility for going, hey, this doesn't fit with me. This isn't where I want to be, so I'm not doing it, And, this is it. I remember now. Sorry, thank you. Your answer to your question was, it's the old compounding thing, isn't it? The old, I think it's Darren Hardy mentioned this about a plane. If a plane took off from Southampton, right, to New York, if it just changed its trajectory just by 1 degree, it'd be on the other side of the world. And over time, you just think, well, 1 degree is nothing. But I think that's the focus that I do now is I'll do that 90 minutes twice, 3 times a week. What's the 90 minutes first thing I can do in the morning to, the one thing I can do to grow my business, whatever it might be. Over time, if I do that every single week, 3 times a week, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 times a month maybe, over time that 1% goes. So contradictory to what I said, as I'm a millennial, as I'm very, very impatient, but, contradicting to that, I am putting those 1% in every day, every week, which over time is moving me closer and closer and closer. So I think that's the thing. Yeah.
So makes and I don't think this was on pre-recording of this, makes the needing more energy, not tiredness, needing more, so much more worthwhile, because you know that at this point you need more energy, but actually that hard graft is going to make that swing that pendulum that little bit further around, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Alan, do you have a question?
Yeah, right, Ricky. We're going to wrap up slowly, and so we have our kind of our bookend question to kind of mirror the first one.
Not as big as the first one.
I don't know, Emily. I think it is in its own way. So if you could go back and visit your younger self, you actually talked about younger self today. Thank you for sharing all that, and put your arm around the shoulder, take them for a chat, say whether you want to say, something positive, or it won't be negative, but you know what I mean. What would you say to your younger self?
It's a bit cliche, I think, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people say this, but
miss the emo phase.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed that. It was great. Emo's coming back, Emily. I'm telling you, I'm great. Loving this. It's a bit cliche because I think everybody says this, don't they? But it's like, you are enough. Things will be all right. What you're probably going through right now, the lack of clarity, the lack of understanding, it will play out. If you just keep being you, doing what you're doing, it will work out. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It would be, I said this ironically to my mother-in-law this morning, right? And I like to think about this. If I could go back in time, it'd be amazing, right? So Alma, my daughter, she does this thing sometimes where she just zones out, right? And I go, Alma, and she's like back again, right? And I don't know what this, there's something, I can't remember what it is, something to do with their development stage. And I said, oh, that'd be amazing. What I think is, I'm imagining that Alma, 50 years in the future, is travelled back in time somehow, and she's just popped into Alma's body just to spend 2 more minutes with Dad, or to have a lovely moment. And that's just her zoning out. It's like her body taking over. Do you know what I mean? So again, I'd love to go back in time. I can't do that, but my answer would be to go back in time and just say, you are enough. Yeah, you are absolutely putting all the right progress in. It might not look like it, but you will have a great life. Yeah. So I think that'll be it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, the thing I would say to you as well is you are only in your early 30s, so you have so much more.
You're not old like us, mate.
So much more usable life ahead of you as well. Contrary to a previous podcast on the Three Men podcast where you said, I'm not going to live till when I'm 40. That's quite a statement. But I think actually you are destined for massive things if you carry on the way you're going right now.
Yeah.
And
we'll see you on the stage.
Yeah. See you on the stage.
Is it Tony Robbins? Oh, sorry. I think Tony Robbins says,
No.
I think he says, doesn't he, like, you can overestimate what you can do in a year, but you can underestimate what you can do in 5 years. So I think, who knows where this will be? The possibilities are endless, isn't it? So thank you for that kind comment. Yeah, and you'll be on that stage with me, I'm sure. Yeah. I'll see you there.
I hope so. No, I hope so. We will. Yes. I can't believe it. So, look, Ricky, thank you so much. We love you. We love talking to you. We love being involved in each other's adventures, if that's okay. And we will see you again soon. Take it easy, mate. Thanks everyone.
Bye.